Welcome to today's episode of Table Talk with
the Mercer County ESC.
All right, welcome back. We are on episode 3.
Episode 3
of what is our series called?
Morphology? I forget.
Oh my God, I forget too.
It looks really nice though.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't matter. This is going to be all within the series. We're on episode 3 of our series about morphology study. And so far we have done
What is morphology?
What is morphology? And then we did morphemes versus syllables. So if you have not watched those episodes, please go back and watch them. But you don't have to watch these really in order, I don't think.
No.
But today we are going to focus on prefixes.
Yes,
and we're going to put them together. But expert Emily said,
well, expert Emily typed it into ChatGPT. Well, because this episode felt a little thin. So yeah. I thought prefixes and suffixes can go together, right? Like, of course they can. And I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was like, whoa. Both of them are very important. And they serve different reasons for adding them. So we'll talk about those later. But
yeah, so then I was making my loaded water. I am a TikTok lover, and I came across this video with loaded water.
One of our podcast ideas should be a bingo card of all the different TikTok trends that Lindsay has tried.
I know. I purchasing off. Yeah.
Because like my own husband is even invested in this process. Mm-hmm. Like I showed him the loaded water TikTok that you sent me.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I had it yet today. I said, yeah, I did. It's good. It's good.
I left my house 20 minutes early so I could stop at the store to pick up the ingredients for a loaded water. If you've never heard of it, it is just like water, an electrolyte packet, coconut water, and sparkling water. It's really good though.
It is good. I'm feeling
not
extra
drinking a
lively.
Diet Coke or whatever in the afternoon. But anyhow, I was making that in the kitchen, and Emily comes flying in and says, hey, we can't do prefixes and suffixes together.
Nope, they're their own.
So we decided that we're going to kick today off with trivia. So that's what we're going to do next. Trivia about
prefix trivia.
And I like it. Okay, let's go ahead and do it.
All right. We have 5 prefix trivia questions, okay? And like I said, these are totally fair trivia questions. You will either know the answer, or people who are listening would go, I'm not sure I would have known that answer either. Okay, so question number 1. This is just because I was really interested and wanted to know. I didn't know the answer. What is the most commonly used prefix in the English language?
Re.
That was one of the answer choices.
You didn't? I didn't know I had answer
I know this
choices.
one doesn't need answer choices. Oh. Okay, I'll give you the answer choices.
Okay.
Pre, un, re, dis.
Is it pre? What is it?
No.
Un?
It is un. Un is the most common prefix in the English language.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the answer choices for this one.
Okay.
Which prefix means again and often shows up in repetition words?
Again?
Re, miss, in, or sub.
Re.
Good job. Re, yes.
I was going to tell you, I don't even need the answer choices. I think I got it.
Yeah, I wondered. I almost didn't tell you. Okay, this one's hard.
Okay.
Well, not hard. Tricky. It's tricky.
All right.
It's tricky.
It's tricky.
Okay. What prefix can mean both into and not?
Okay, give me choices.
Miss, dis, in, or over.
And the meaning is
not and or into.
Okay, and then give me the answer choice one more time.
Miss, dis, in, over.
In,
you're right. So think invisible, so not visible, or inject, so into. Okay, we got 2 more. We have 5.
I'm doing good.
Okay, this one's really easy. If you don't get this one is in fact going to be embarrassing, and I'm going to razz you.
Oh, I hate when you have to start it like that.
Okay, but wait.
Okay.
Which prefix would you find in the words submarine and submerge?
Sub.
Good job, Lindsay. That means under or below.
So far I've gotten all of them right except the first one.
Except the first one. The first one was again, like I said, people would go, I didn't know that either.
Okay.
The last question, and I'm not giving you the choices. Okay. This is like double No, not Double Jeopardy. Final Jeopardy. Except we don't have. Okay, it's not like Final Jeopardy at all.
Okay.
Okay. Which of the following prefixes means opposite of or reverse action?
Opposite
Opposite or reverse action.
No, I don't know. What?
Okay, I'll give you choices.
I was gonna say, give me some choices.
Dis, in, non, super.
And read the question one more time.
Which of the following prefixes means opposite of or reverse action?
Okay, and give me the answer choices again.
Dis, in, non, super. In as in en.
I think it's the first one.
Dis. You are correct. Dis, disagree, disconnect, disobey.
And honestly, that's what I had to think of was
words
with it.
See, you're using your morphological awareness.
I know. I learned from
guys. If it can work for Lindsay, it can work for anyone.
You know it. Yes. Okay. I like that trivia game. We're going to do that on more of the episodes.
Wasn't bad, was it?
Yeah. Good job. So I had some candy because I just have no self-control. And I was eating my
Tootsie Roll,
my fruity one, because I don't like regular Tootsie Rolls.
Into the microphone, guys.
Into the microphone. And I said, sorry, we can't start recording until.
It was awful, but I had to listen to it because I still have my headphones on, and it sounds that we're
and
not
it is
fun.
Like one of those, what did you call
ASMR
it?
videos.
AMSR. And if you don't know what those are, it's like.
If they're teachers, they probably do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like you run over the.
My favorite ones are when they have they have giant glass jugs full of water, and they push them off cement steps, and you hear, pew. No, I watch them for real, and they go pink.
What is wrong?
And then they break. It scratches.
It just sounds like such a waste of time.
No. They've done
here we go.
Time out. They've done neurological studies, and people,
I'm sure they have.
It itches certain people's brains. Some people's it doesn't have an effect on them, but for certain people, it really is like scratching an itch in their brain. I'm dead serious.
I'm sure.
Like, do you get chills when you listen to music? Ever? No, you're being dead serious right now?
No, I don't get chills. Chills when I listen to music?
Yeah. No. Okay.
You do?
Yes. Like if you're listening to like a really moving piece of music.
I mean, no. But maybe I just don't listen to the right kind of music.
It's probably your lack of empathy.
Stop! I do have empathy. We talked about this.
You're right. It's just the least prominent feature in your personality.
Okay. Emily.
Okay, back to prefixes. So a prefix, simply put, a group of letters added to the beginning of a word, right? Mm-hmm. But what's important to understand about prefixes is that
is a prefix always a morpheme?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they will. Yes, that's a good question, because it leads into the importance of prefixes and why ChatGPT encouraged us not to combine prefixes and suffixes. Both prefixes and suffixes change the meaning of words. So like we talked about, no, actually, I think I talked about it on the one that I had to do for my class. But like if you have the word dog, you have a dog. That means you have a dog. We add an S. We've now changed the meaning of that word because there are multiple dogs, right? So suffixes change meaning, prefixes change meaning. The thing to know about prefixes, though, a prefix is always a bound morpheme.
And what do you mean by a bound morpheme? Because there's people on here that have probably never even heard of a morpheme, but let alone a bound.
So bound morphemes are exactly as they sound. They can't stand alone.
Got it.
So
they are bound with
fair. Yeah. That's a free morpheme. It can stand by itself. It's a word on its own.
Okay.
So when we add, Lindsay, before we add our prefix, what does fair mean?
Equal.
Oh, that's not a good marker. So when
I'm really trying to figure out your letters. Like, why do we have capital letters in the middle of our words?
Because I taught secondary and kids.
And your A is a backward 6.
No, it's not. It's a type A. Like how you type it on a computer.
I know, but like.
You're the woman who writes half cursive, half print and everything she does. Pot, kettle, right? Like, come on.
Okay.
I'm left-handed.
All right. So this means not equal.
Not equal. So we have quite literally completely changed the meaning of this word, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So what about, now I'm going to use the same.
So do it again.
Well, yep. Do it again. What?
You thinking I was asking you to do it again?
I know. I'm like, why do you want me to do it again? What did I do wrong? I wrote it. Okay. So what does view mean?
You'd like to see it.
To see it. Mm-hmm. What happens when we do this? Preview.
See it before.
See it before, right? Uh-huh. So what's incredibly important to understand about prefixes is that even though they're just like they're 2 to 3 letters that we're adding at the beginning of the word, it literally changes the meaning of that word. And if we can get students who struggle with reading or maybe have dyslexia, they may read this as purview. And if they don't have this morphological awareness, their brain doesn't click that like, hey, that's not right. Like that doesn't make sense. So you can now start to see as we've done our preview of morphology, and then we're going into roots and suffixes and prefixes. You can see how if we give them access to what these different prefixes mean, they can start moving things around with prefixes and roots and suffixes, and they can be able to start literally becoming word detectives. So that's what's important to understand about prefixes just on the front end. And then we can talk about some misconceptions about prefixes and where students might struggle.
All right. All right, Emily, what are the misconceptions?
I didn't know we started.
I'm on it.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Okay.
Well, it counted down. I just figured.
I felt like somebody should have warned me, and I always forget we're not talking to actual people in the moment, and I get like mad that people didn't warn me that this was happening. You got to like give me a cue or something.
Okay, I just figured that you would pay attention to the screen.
No, I'm reading my notes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have any notes, so I just
well,
got us started.
Okay, well, there's not an abundance of misconceptions on prefixes, but the misconceptions of prefixes are critical. Because when we, like, to be honest, a lot of the work that we've done with literacy I feel like you've almost been figuring out as you go. And we talk about this just from like a state level, like building the plane while you're flying it, but also just like the chameleon prefixes after we recorded the last one, and you're like, whoa, like they finally make sense, right?
Sense, yeah.
Like you explain something enough that you're like, oh, now this finally makes sense. So before all of this, I thought, what is the big deal about defining the differences between syllables and morphemes? Like, what is that big deal? Very similar to when we were doing dyslexia training and teachers ask, why is syllabication so important for students to understand? So one misconception that students may have about prefixes is that they're just sounds, like they're just random sounds or syllables of a word. Like they won't recognize them for what they are, which is meaning. So like a student, if you don't have knowledge of morphology, if I give you the word unfair, you may then, if you don't know that un is a prefix, you may just assume it has something to do with fairness. When, in all honesty, unfair is the opposite of fairness, right? So giving them some of those tools to understand like that these prefixes have meaning and that.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you're teaching prefixes, should you be teaching like almost like memorization, like giving students just prefixes and having them understand that un is like not, or re is, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, or should they just be learning prefixes when they see it like in context, like, or in a word, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think like good morphology scholars, which I wouldn't necessarily identify myself as, but I would hope that they would agree that it's a combination of both. So like that explicit instruction at the beginning, like when you are introducing a morpheme. So let's say you decide next year, I'm going to do morpheme a week. Morpheme. It happens all the time. It's probably happened in other podcasts. Sure. But morpheme of the week, let's say they decide they're going to do the morpheme of the week. The very first thing you're going to do is give them the prefix and tell them what it means. Okay. And they're going to write that down. Like that way it's concrete in their brain.
I almost see it like as like a lexile. Like they could have this somewhere that way they can go back to it. Because like for me, I may need to go back to it multiple times, or my neighbor may be able to just memorize it. But then when I encounter words down the road, I know where to find it and know then
Yeah, you
what
can
the
then
meaning
look
is. It's
back
a tool
into
for
your
me.
into your own little morpheme dictionary or
Yeah.
lexicon to go back and look at what these mean. Because the other part of it that makes it hard is prefixes and suffixes. You're going to teach those first. Like
Mhm.
I've alluded to my son before. They started with the suffix s, and now they're on the suffix ed. But the problem is you can't just have that suffix in isolation, right? Like it
Right.
has to be attached to a root. So they need all of language to be able to understand how these parts move together. But the other
Mhm.
part of that, like you mentioned, should they see it? Should they just be introduced to it through exposure?
Right.
That is another important part of it, that they see these morphemes in context and
Okay.
what that looks like. So the explicit nature of this is you are explicitly teaching them. But then also when they come across it in writing or text or the article that you're reading, stop, point it out, break it down. You know what I mean? Talk through
Mhm.
those processes that we take for granted as
Right.
adult fluent readers.
Because then it just becomes a consistent tool that they're using.
Yeah, because then like I said, the students who struggle, that's not even going to be, they're not even going to think to get that tool out.
Right.
So when we walk them through that process, um, it's incredibly important for them to understand, like, this is a tool that I can use when I see this part of the word. And then the other part I think that is important to remember, and those of you who have probably thought this through, that teaching prefixes simultaneously helps teach vocabulary and spelling. Because again, if we don't know that this is a prefix and we don't know that this has meaning, we're going to think that it just has something to do with fairness when it's the
Mhm.
opposite. The
Right.
same thing, the example I gave with purview, if you don't know that PRE is a morpheme and a prefix and has meaning, you can move this spelling around however you want. And there's
Right.
not going to be some indicator in your head that's going to go off and go, that's not right.
Right.
So that's why it's critically important to make sure that students understand that those prefixes change the meaning of the word. That should be said explicitly to students whenever you can say it, that it's going to change the
Mhm.
meaning so that they understand that.
Good. 1.
I was
Action.
ready this
Look at
time.
that.
I mean, I don't get a lot of time to prepare myself. She just clicked record. I get a little frazzled.
Yeah, do you know what she said today?
I think it's a great idea.
Go ahead. Tell them
No,
what happened, because I do kind of want to know the backstory.
well, I'm trying to think of a way to frame this appropriately
Oh,
because
great. When this happens, I know like she's really got to think through that.
because I want people to understand, like, that this is not framed in a way that's meant to be offensive.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I understand that I am offensive. Like, I get that sometimes. But so, like, Lindsay gets down this, like, she just thinks of all these awesome things in her brain. I think of it like, you're going to get offended, but I'm just going to say it. Like, you're at the pet store, right? And there's a little hamster running on the wheel and it's running and it's running. And eventually the wheel gets faster than the hamster and the wheel like eats the hamster up. And then the hamster's just like spinning in the wheel. I feel like sometimes that's what happens with your really good ideas. And you're just like, and you just
Uh-huh.
need like a factory reset to like stop your brain for a second. Like,
Mhm.
just like a button back here that we would hold down for 3 seconds. You would like, zzz,
Yeah.
and then you would like come back.
Well,
All those thoughts.
there are some times when I'm like, I wish my brain would just stop.
Yeah,
I
that's
wish it
see.
would just
So
stop.
you've been thinking it too. But then
But it's usually like when I'm laying in bed, not when I'm like, no,
no,
yeah,
I can see
okay.
it on your face when your brain's doing it. Like, I can literally see it on your face. I'm like, "Oh, her brain is moving way
I
faster than
know.
she can keep up
Can't
with
turn it
it."
off
So then
sometimes.
Rachel, she said that to regulate,
That is somebody in our office.
yeah, she's, like the all that stuff. She said to regulate you, we could splash a little water on you. That's a regulation technique. So
Please don't do
I
that.
could get I don't think that's a regulation technique for like real life, so nobody use that, please. But I wanted to get like a Lindsay water bottle that like just give you a little spritz.
God, if you do that, I'm not going to be very
I know
happy.
you won't. I won't spritz you. I'll just watch and wait.
Okay, let's close this episode out.
I know, I forgot what we were doing there for a second. I
So
got
you were
scared.
pulling a Lindsay, like your brain was
I
going like
know.
100
Well,
miles
because you
per
just
hour,
hit record and boom, here we are.
but I'd count it down this time.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So prefixes are important. And you can teach those. I think it'll be easier when we put all the pieces together at the end because you're probably um it's hard to conceptualize what morphological instruction looks like without roots,
Right.
as well, especially if we're talking to secondary teachers who have moved beyond kind of some of that early word knowledge. So when we see it with roots, it helps for students to be able to manipulate those. We will show you some morpheme matrix morpheme
Ooh.
matrices.
Like it should be like turning into a rap.
It should really because when you start being able to combine those morphemes, that's when the magic happens. And when students are able to see words transform. And so when we get into the next episode with suffixes, we'll learn what the major difference is between prefixes and suffixes, and then having that component, and then we'll lead into the roots. Once you see the whole big picture, then you'll see really how all these parts move together to help students really become, like I said, one of my favorite things that I've come across is an article about them literally being word detectives. Like it is now their job to go into that text and find clues to help them find meaning. And to me, I mean, even as an adult, that makes reading sound 10 times more fun than, hey, I'm looking at this code that I haven't yet mastered. And
Right.
not only do I have to figure it out, but I have assessments that are attached to it as well.
Mhm.
So this can kind of also just change an attitude when it comes to reading, being able to help them get access to that code.
All right. So our next episode, we will be focusing on suffixes.
Suffixes.